What up, what up, what up? It's your man's Wealth Fidel live here on a cruise rolling through the Caribbean, but I gotta drop some jewels because that's what I do. Now, listen, we're gonna talk a little bit about DR real estate and the time it takes to sell a house because I was pretty taken aback by the fact that I talked to people and they were like, "Oh, I've been working on selling my home for a year and a half, 3 years, right? Several years that people are trying to sell their house. And I'm like, man, that's insane, right? Let's first talk about why in the U.S. we're able to sell homes so quick and so efficiently, which is pretty dope, right? Because the MLS has created a system that connects buyers with sellers. And tap for that with agents. They know how to move the house, how to price it properly, how to get it out to the parties, and we also share in commissions. So people work together, right? So some of the flaws of the real estate system in Dominican Republic come from a lack of MLS, which that leads into a lack of proper pricing. There's homes are sold based on comps, and it's very difficult to know what a comp is. So a comp is when someone else sells a similar house within a close distance of yours, right? So homes are sold based on comps, but we know what the comps are because everything is sold on one system. So all the information is collected together where I can see, oh, your neighbor house is similar and it was sold for this much. So we can price yours in this price range. And it makes sense. They don't have a system that shows what the other homes sold for. So it's the wild, wild west when you're pricing your house, right? And people will just put it out there for what they think it's worth. What you think it's worth doesn't matter really, right? You're just kind of making a guess, an assumption to say, I think it's a beautiful house, it's worth this much. But the market will quickly tell you if they feel it's worth that much because it will not sell. There's only a few reasons that houses don't sell. They're in a horrible condition and people just can't get past that, or they're overpriced. If you have a home and it's not selling, it's overpriced. It's just that simple. I guarantee if you brought the price down, the house will sell. Now, some of the problem is in DR is some people bought too high. They paid too much in the beginning, so now they can't sell it and get out of it. And that's causing an issue with that property because they want to get out of it, get their capital back. And if they overpaid, they may have to take a loss to sell that house and get it off their hands if they overpaid for the home. Okay, so you have to understand these things when you're thinking about the buying in DR, the pricing models. How did they come up with this price? Is it worth this much? A lot of times the stuff I see is overpriced. If you use an investor method and you're looking at the ROI, then you can say, I'm willing to pay this much because this is the ROI I'm looking for. Right. So you have to be able to evaluate these homes. The second issue they have is the agents don't typically have exclusivity, right? And exclusivity is when, hey, like myself, I'm an agent, I'm a realtor in the US and in DR. But if you say, hey, Dale, you can sell my house, but I'm also going to have 30 other agents trying to sell it as well. From the seller's perspective, it seems like, oh, it's better. I got 30 people trying to sell it versus just Dale. In reality, it's not because what happens is you have 30 people who just have the listing that don't care about selling it. You're not going to put much effort or money or anything into it because that could be a failed system. You put money into your marketing and stuff like that, and then someone else sells it. You don't make any money. You don't recoup your investment or your time trying to sell that home. That's why our system in the U.S. works. It's an exclusive agreement. Tell you're going to sell this house. Now I can put all my time, energy, effort, and money into selling your home because I know that at the end of the day, I'll make my money back. So I can put the effort into it. Not the same. So you have a bunch of people who got the listing on the website, people pricing it in all types of crazy ways. Some people might say, man, I think it's worth more money. He only wants 400,000. I'm gonna put it online for 430 and I'll take the extra 30,000. All right. So it's like the Wild West with the agents and the pricing, but that's why homes are sitting because they're not priced properly. You don't have the proper agreements in place so you can sell your home properly. And also they don't have systems for you to co-broke and work at the agent, right? You have a seller and then you have a buyer. And they both can have agents on their side. When a person sells the home and they may not be offered a commission, then the person's not going to bring their buyer. Okay. If they don't bring a buyer, the house is going to sit. Okay. So when you're looking at properties in DR, you want to keep this in mind. You always have to think of the exit. Even though you're going in, you're buying a house, you say, if I need to sell this house, how do I do about it, right? How do I sell this house? Did I overpay for the house? Will it make sense for another person? And then you have to realize when you're buying a house, for you to sell that house in DR, it might cost you upwards of 13%. So you have to keep that in mind too. So you bought a house for 300,000. You got to realize that to sell it and break even, you're gonna have to sell it for maybe 340, right? Because that's what it's going to take to sell that home when you start paying the commission and the transfer fees and stuff. So buying the house, you want to think about if you have to exit it, did it make sense? Was the pricing right? Do you have some equity in there? Did you overpay? Would it make sense for an investor to take it off your hands? These are the things you want to consider if you're going to buy a house in Dominican Republic. And then you have to consider that when you sell it, typically not a quick sell unless it's priced really low and goes really quick. It might take 6 months. It may take a year to sell your home. So you want to keep that in mind. Until there's a different system, it can be a challenge selling a house. Very easy to buy. It's very hard to sell. If you're interested in real estate in the DR, tap in with me. Let's make some stuff happen.